You read that title and thumbnail correctly. I'm ranking all of them. Every single character who's ever been a host throughout BFDI's history. We got 40 characters to get through, so this is going to be a long one. Granted, more than half of them come from a single episode, but I said I was going to rank all of them. If I missed one or two, I wouldn't be surprised. This ranking isn't based on how objectively good of a host each character is, rather I'm ranking them simply by how much I enjoyed them. So, without further delays, let's get straight into the ranking. Hey, editing me here. I actually already forgot a handful of technical hosts. So, the Fiery Speaker Box clone, the Hexagon Speaker Box, the Circular Floating Globe Speaker Box, and the Spike Ball Speaker Box. I didn't count them. I didn't consider them as hosts, but the wiki counts them as co-hosts when they appear. So, if you want to know where they be placed, I put them right above the bottom three in this list. The only two in that group that are actually here are Triangle Speaker Box and Cheese Orb, since they do appear later in Teapot 15. That's all I gotta say, and on to the ranking. 40th, Meatball, basically in a three-way tie for last. He's one of the three characters who appear briefly in Teapot 15 as the hosts begin to rapidly change and is never seen again. I just have them at the bottom because I like their design the least. 39th, Greenface. I like how unique his design is compared to Purple and Yellowface. The fact he actually has limbs makes me wish we saw more of him. 38th, Triforce Speaker Box. I didn't even know this is literally just 3 triangle speaker boxes meshed together until making this video, but I thought it was funny, so they're above the other two. 37th, Purple Face, my least favorite actual host. Like I said in my tier list video, he overstays his welcome in post-split, and him becoming a co-host was sort of the last straw for my tolerance of him. 36th, Profilely, only slightly higher because they weren't on screen for as long during Teapot. 35th, 3. I think his scenes are great at building tension, but come on, he literally does nothing. 34th, Jack. Cool reference, but I think it worked better in BFDIA. 33rd, Carrot Cake. I like the design, and that's about it. 32nd, Dragon. I didn't even realize this guy was a host when I watched the episode. I thought he just appeared because of the timeline breaking. But he saved Robot Flower, so I gotta give him props. 31st, Evil Leafy. Fun cameo since to my knowledge she didn't appear at all in BFB to Teapot up until that point. 30th, Planty. Funny that he showed up again and a cool reference, but that's about all I gotta say for him. 29th, Bottle. I know this one is a hot take, and her being this low is for purely petty reasons, since I think her being host is what doomed TV's chances at surviving Teapot 17. 28th, Triangle Speaker Box. I really like the design and voice, and the fact he has a running gag where he cuts in during Kick at Steak and says who's safe, although I'm not sure his appearance in BFDIA 22 counts as hosting. 27th, 6. My least favorite of the Algebrailians we see hosting. I just don't think 6's personality works as well as the other numbers do as a host. 26th, 7. His personality works slightly better as a host. That's about it. 25th, Pineapple. Tomska's voice really brings up Pineapple for me. Something about it just screams host to me. But he isn't any higher since he was the one to read Robot Flower's votes and got her eliminated. Once again, petty reasons. 24th, 9. Thought it was cool to see them take 2's place as the one to split BFB, although I'm not sure if this counts as 9 hosting, and I enjoyed their short time hosting the K at Stake. 23rd, Panflute. I like Panflute, and I thought it was nice to see him as a host for a little bit. He's the first of the alternate hosts to tell the contestants to deal with the timeline problem, and his little scene with Black Hole was fun. 22nd, Ian. I thought the whole 27th letter of the alphabet thing was funny, just some traditional BFDI goofiness. And I enjoyed a section of the Cake at Stake where the prize was the 28th letter. Again, it's just standard BFDI silliness. 21st, Glue. Glue's really only this high because I think it's neat a character who initially appeared in BFDI Mini was able to get a somewhat prominent role as host during Teapot 15. Plus, he just seems like a chill dude. 20th, Cheese Orb. Probably the character I was happiest to see appear as a host, and the fact he was the one to not only start the intro, but replace 2 in it gives him bonus points. 19th, 10. While 10 may not be my favorite Algebrailian, he works surprisingly well as a host. He's the one who announces the challenge and breaks the yo-yo light into several pieces to give to the other contestants, and I like how exaggerated he was in the way he talked and moved. Kinda wish we got to see more of him. 18th, VR Headset. Out of all the alternate hosts, this guy was easily my favorite. I love his design, I love that he speaks using video game slang, and the fact his initial appearance was just as a concept host makes it even cooler that we actually got to see him as a host, albeit for a very brief amount of time. From here on out, the rest of the characters on this list have all hosted at least one full episode, or at least close to one. You know what I mean. Starting things off at 17th, we got Flower Speaker Box. Even though I put her in D tier in my tier list video, I don't think Flower Speaker Box deserves the hate she gets. Yeah, she's mean and biased towards Flower, but I'm going to be honest here and say those are pretty dumb reasons to hate her. Those are the traits that made her entertaining, in addition to her bouncing off Fiery Speaker Box pretty well. The only reason she's this low is because she has the least amount of screen time out of any of the traditional hosts, since she gets killed in the episode immediately following her debut. 16th, X. I'm sure this is a hot take, but I've never cared for X. He's always just kind of been there for me, but he's had his moments that made me chuckle here and there. 15th, the Bugs. I thought the noises they made were funny, and even after they were given the Yo-Yo straw, I really enjoyed how theatrical the Bugs sounded. Plus, it was neat that they were given an actual part in BFDI 12's challenge. They weren't around for long, but I enjoyed watching them. 14th, Black Hole. I didn't even realize he was considered the host during Teapot 15, but hey, I respect the work he put into keeping the timeline together and finding the failed debuters. 13th, TV. If we were just talking about his BFDIA hosting, he would be significantly further down on the list, since I can't remember a single thing he did as host, and I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't either. But he's also considered a host for Teapot 15 and 19, where he worked alongside Black Hole to find the failed debuters, and also announced a Battle Royale challenge basically out of spite for no one caring about mechanical minds, and you gotta respect that. Plus, he's one of my favorite characters in BFDI, so it's just a tad biased here. 12th, Fiery Speaker Box. He does his job well, and I really enjoyed him in BFDIA. I thought it was funny how he stopped hosting after Fiery got out purely because of how emotionally distressed he was that his owner got out. Kinda shocked he was killed off screen though, although I can't say he didn't have it coming. 11th, Leafy. I liked the reveal that she had no plans of actually ending the challenge just so she could spend as much time as she wanted with everyone else. She really used her position as host to her fullest, and I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed her this episode. 10th, Puffball Speaker Box. On the contrary to Fiery Speaker Box, I don't think Puffball Speaker Box even remotely cared about Puffball being out. I don't even think she interacted with her owner, which really helps her stand on her own. I liked how unhinged she could be, and I was happy to see her return in BFDIA 8. Sad that she didn't stick around for longer though. 9th, Flower. Basically Flower Speaker Box, but better. I really enjoyed seeing Mean Flower again, and her getting the entire episode to host really let her bounce off the other contestants. I don't really have much else to say. I thought it was funny as she was funny as a host, and I enjoyed her constant insulting and bickering with the contestants. 8th, the weak Trembling Fortress contestants. It was neat seeing all the post-hiatus eliminated contestants come together to host since they already have a good connection to the contestants still competing, and I enjoyed the shenanigans they got into while hosting. Also made their own Kick a Stick intro. But I think another certain group of eliminated contestants did this concept better. 7th, the LOLers. These guys are mostly carried by the pre-hiatus eliminated contestants in BFDIA 14 since they were really screwed over by being locked inside the LOL, since they couldn't directly interact with any of the contestants after they were eliminated, unlike the post-hiatus contestants who still stuck around after being eliminated. But letting those pre-hiatus characters come back alongside the rest of the LOLers as hosts and letting them all get some time to shine was fun to watch. I mean, even Roboti got his moment. However, one of these guys stands above the rest. 6th, Balloony. Not only is the idea of Balloony winning a 1v39 funny, but Balloony is one of my favorite contestants, so I was glad to see him given some special treatment, especially with how Post-Split and Teapot has been treating him. He doesn't have that much screen time after becoming the only host, but I enjoyed what I saw from him. 5th, the Fish Monster. This is probably the most shocking placement in this entire ranking, but I don't know. I really like the Fish Monster. His interactions with the other contestants are fun, specifically Pin. He's pretty active during the challenges with how much the contestants interact with him, and he's surprisingly compelling as the host considering he was just sort of dragged into the BFDIA by Pin. Overall, definitely the most surprising host in this ranking. 4th, Donut. Now this is how you do a contestant host. The issue I had with Bottle was making her the host and immediately letting her team lose, which gave her an unfair advantage over the rest of her team, especially considering it was vote to save. Not only did Donut's team never lose while he was hosting, but even if they did, it was still vote to eliminate, so that extra popularity wouldn't have been as big of an issue as it was for Bottle and her team. But even excluding all of that and just looking at Donut on his own, this was some much needed redemption for BFDIA's first boot. His interactions with the characters like his teammates, Lollipop and 8-Ball are fun, and you really get the idea that this is just a guy who's been forced to take over the show and is doing the best he can. I like that he even gets annoyed by it all by BFB9 and he just quits hosting once X comes back. He feels realistic, and I like that. Apart from the whole crushing 8-Ball under the moon thing, I don't know why he did that. 3rd, 4. A classic host and someone I enjoyed a lot during pre-split. The only reason I don't have him higher is because of BFB 16 to 30. 4 is at his best when he just does things for no reason at all. During pre-split, 4 is just a lunatic who popped in one day wanting to host a competition, and everything worked out from there. There was no rhyme or reason to basically anything he did during that time, and it made him funny. But once BFB 16 came around, and it really just sort of fell apart for 4. He started acting way more emotional and serious than he did during pre-split, and this is especially clear in BFB 28 to 30, where he throws a tantrum and creates a fake world where the exiters love him just because the contestants were excited to see the announcer again. And the whole idea that he was a fan of BFDI could have worked, but that idea isn't really shown off for most of the series. I mean, one of the first things 4 does is kill a Season 1 veteran. Seems like he wasn't too fond of the contestants. Thankfully, Teapot brings back 4's more goofy and chaotic personality, while also having a major role in the 1 storyline, where I think 4 acting more serious makes sense. Second, 2. I remember hating this guy when he first appeared in BFB 16. He just came off as an entitled brat who stole more than half of 4's contestants. But once Teapot actually started, 2 became extremely likable. He had all these little quirks about him while showing genuine care for the contestants, and even helping them out when they were in a difficult spot, like with Clock and Winter. Of course, his friendship with Katie was fun to watch as well, with how much he genuinely cares for her. He's unfortunately been out of commission for the past 4 episodes, but that doesn't take away from how enjoyable he's been as a host up until this point. And finally, in first, we have the announcer. The first host and the one who started it all. What's there to say about him that hasn't already been said? He's witty, sarcastic, and overall just a fun host. He carried a lot of BFDI's humor, and his return to the BFB post-split immediately brought up that entire half of the season, with how it feels like he just came straight from Season 1. The text-to-speech voice is used to its fullest here, since everything he says just comes off as really dry, even when he's making fun of the contestants. But that just makes everything he says funnier. I really don't know how to put it in the words, but he's always been such a fun character to watch and will likely always be the best host to me. And we've reached the end of the ranking. There were a lot more characters than I thought there'd be, but I still enjoyed going through them all and ranking them for you guys. But what do you all think? Do you agree with my list, or do you think some of these guys should have been switched around? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video, and I will see you all next time.